For this part, we're going to go through what I would consider the key components for completing the individual areas of the game. I won't be covering all these areas in extreme detail, more just getting equipment or spells that are exceptional or mandatory for progression, and then progressing through as painlessly as possible. My suggestion is once you reach certain bonfires or defeat area bosses, to go back and explore these areas at your leisure. There is some cool stuff in these areas that I simply don't bother getting because it's not overly useful in most circumstances. I won't be telling you to grab every item, but if you see a shiny white thing, it's always a good idea to pick it up. Just be cautious, as sometimes these things are bait for ambushes. I'm going to assume that you started Warrior for this segment, as the weapon is very capable of one-shotting these initial hollows. Other classes should have slightly different damage outputs, but you should be able to take on these initial hollows very easily regardless. From Firelink, you'll want to head up the staircase. Dispatch these basic hollows by single pulling. They should go down in a few hits of R1 or a single one-handed R2 if you started Warrior. Be wary of the hollow above the armored one, as he will throw firebombs at you. After taking out these hollows, ascend the staircase and try and take these hollows out quickly. A hit or two should be sufficient. Once you're clear, enter the aqueduct. Hang a left in here, kill this rat with an R2, and collect the treasure. Then turn around and take the exit on your left. Ascend the stairs and fight more basic hollows. Turn the corner and notice a firebomb throwing hollow. There's another to your left waiting to ambush you. Dispatch them both, it shouldn't be much different than the previous hollows. Head up the path on your right and ascend the stairs. Keep going and you'll be stopped by the Hellkite Drake. It won't kill you, just wait for it to pass. This is a bit of a final gauntlet before the next bonfire. Slowly pull these enemies individually and take them out, being careful to avoid the crossbow shots from the hollows above. Keep your shield up, and you shouldn't have much issues isolating and dispatching these guys. Once that's done, head up and take out the crossbow hollow before entering the building and resting at the bonfire. This is optional, as we will be coming here again later, but you can head back down and take out the two spear hollows by kicking their shields and then giving them a stab with your one-handed R2. Break the boxes on your left and head down the stairs to meet the male undead merchant. You will want to purchase several things from him eventually, but it's not a big deal right now. If you do this, prioritize buying a lot of arrows right now. It will help you in the upcoming section. Just the cheap ones are fine, you don't need to splurge. You could also consider getting a reinforced club. It has high base damage and is a reasonable weapon option for you depending on your class choice. If you did this, head back to the bonfire and spend your souls on levels. Prioritize getting to 14 dexterity first and then 16 strength. The 14 dex will let us use the longbow. The 16 strength will let us use the Drakesword when we get it shortly. If you're close to a level, you can kill and respawn these first two hollows outside the bonfire until you have enough souls before proceeding onwards. Run across the bridge to avoid being pelted with firebombs to enter the next room. You'll be attacked by 3 hollows. Try and stab one to quickly dispatch it, or you can use sweeping attacks to try and hit both of them. They don't have shields, so they should be an easy kill. Then a hollow knight will bust through the door. Kick his shield to break his guard, then kill him. Enter the room on your right, and take out the 2 hollows in the first room and the side room. Then head to the back and loot the chest for black firebombs before exiting the area. Head up these stairs slowly to not aggro the 3 hollows. You can use your bow to pull individual hollows here. Depending on your stats, you may also be able to one-hit kill them with headshots. Once those are clear, you can go up the ladder behind you to take out the hollows who threw firebombs at you on your way here. Same rules apply. You can kill them with your bow shots or take them out in the standard way. Now loot the corpse for a soul before heading back down. The door behind the 3 dead hollows can be opened with the master key or the residence key if you bought it from the male undead merchant. Head through this room and loot the chest for 3 gold pine resin. These add lightning elemental damage to your right hand weapon. They are extremely powerful in this early stage of the game and should be reserved for tougher enemies and boss attempts. Technically, you can skip most of these enemies and just simply jump from the chest over the staircase, but it's a bit difficult to pull off, so head back the way you came. If one of the Hollow Knights is close, pull him towards you and kill him by kicking his shield away and then giving him the old R2. Then turn around and ascend the stairs in the tower to kill another Hollow with a crossbow before heading back down. In an ideal scenario, you'll bull pull one of these Hollow Knights and then take it out by kicking its shield and dispatching it, then repeat for the second one. However, if you don't have a bow, it's likely you'll have to pull both of them, so just try and bait an attack and then counter hit them. Now continue downwards and then head up the staircase. Approach this very cautiously, as about a third of the way up, a Hollow will kick a flaming barrel at you. Once you see the animation start, run back down the stairs to avoid it, then take out that Hollow. Enter this new area and ascend the staircase. At the top, you'll notice a fog gate. Do not enter it yet. Instead, turn around and smash the barrels to reveal a crystal lizard. Kill it for some upgrade materials, which we will be using later. Afterwards, head to the fog gate and prepare for the first real boss of Dark Souls. There are actually quite a few strategies you can employ on the Taurus Demon, but regardless of what you plan to do, your first move should be to climb the ladder behind you. Then kill the 2 crossbow hollows here so they won't harass you. We don't really want these guys interrupting our fun. You will also notice that this area acts as a circular arena for the boss fight if you don't want to fight the Taurus Demon on the ramparts. The first strategy is quite easy to execute, and it's to abuse the plunging attack. To do this, you'll want to aggro the Taurus Demon by moving about midway across the bridge. Once you see the Taurus Demon jump down, you want to turn tail and run like a coward back to the ladder and climb it. You should have enough time to reach the top before the Taurus Demon gets there. Now execute a plunging attack exactly like we did on the Asylum Demon. Now, since there's a ladder, we can actually repeat this step by running to the other side of the ramparts and waiting for the Taurus Demon to come to you. Bait an attack from him and then run past him back to the ladder. Then plunging attack him again. Repeat this process until he dies. This way is the most safe, but does take a good chunk of time. It should only take about 4 plunging attacks to kill him. But if you went down into the catacombs and got the Gravelord Greatsword and leveled up enough to use it, you can almost one-shot the Taurus Demon here. You'll be able to finish it off with any follow-up attack. The second strategy is a damage race strategy by using the gold pine resin. This strategy will work with any weapon. Simply buff it with a gold pine resin and go to town on him. Taurus Demon actually doesn't have that much HP, and you can basically trade blows with it with your buffed up weapon. You can also combine this strategy with the plunging attack strategy. Start exactly the same way, baiting the Taurus Demon down, then heading back up the ladder. At the top, use a gold pine resin and do a plunging attack. Then just smack him in the groin until he dies. You can also technically beat the Taurus Demon by ring out, but it's not reliable. I've never been able to do it in all my playthroughs, and it's the most likely of these strategies to get you killed. You'll want to run to a part of the ramparts that's destroyed, then you need to position the Taurus Demon so he'll either back hop or jumping attack off the edge. Like I said, it's more likely to get you killed rather than the Taurus Demon. Taurus Demon is skippable. You can skip the fight by running through Darkroot Garden, making the fight entirely optional. Taurus Demon does provide some valuable souls and isn't very difficult, so it's worthwhile to fight him here. You may or may not get a Demon's Great Axe for beating the Taurus Demon. Don't worry about getting it. It will require too much strength to use at this juncture, and you have additional opportunities to get one later on. After the Taurus Demon, head forward and collect the treasure behind these boxes by breaking them. Then move down the stairs and take a right. Talk to Solera Vestora and agree with him. This gives you the White Sign Soapstone. This allows you to put your summon sign down to have other players summon you into your game as a phantom. As a bonus, you can now summon Solera for a few upcoming boss fights if you choose. You can also kill him, but there's no real reason for that right now since his gear just isn't that good. After that's all done, head back up to the bridge. You'll notice scorch marks around it. Line yourself up against the right side wall and start sprinting. If you're fast, you should make it down the staircase to avoid the dragon flames. If you do get hit, just try and get down that staircase as fast as possible. Once you're down, you're safe. Head forward and go down another staircase. Carefully walk towards the ladder and kick it down. Now go down it to find yourself back at the first Undeadburg bonfire. Use the souls gained from the Taurus Demon to level up. Now here is the first real grinding area of the game. From the bonfire, head back up the ladder and the 2 staircases. Then step into the Hellkite Drake's View. This will bait it into breathing fire again onto all the enemies on the bridge, killing them, resulting in about 555 souls each time. Obviously, you want to duck back down the staircase as soon as the animation starts, then you can return to the bonfire to rest and reset the enemies. Repeat this as much as you want. I'm going to suggest you do it enough times to pick up the following items from the male undead merchant. A scimitar, which is mostly for later to turn into Quelaag's Fury Sword. The Residence Key, which is important if you're doing a sorcery build. A lot of arrows, upwards of 300 to 400, and optionally some fire bombs. Also use this as an opportunity to get to 16 strength and 14 dexterity if you haven't already. You should be able to manage about 1000 souls per minute at this location. It's not overly efficient, but the close proximity to the bonfire and merchant makes it super safe. You can level up as much as you want at this bridge if you're really struggling. Increasing your vitality and endurance will be extremely helpful for the upcoming fights. But now it's time to get the Drakesword. There are 2 main ways to do this. The easiest is to bow snipe the tail, but it takes a really long time. From the bonfire, climb up, and instead of going up the stairs, get under the bridge and position yourself so that you can hit the tail. Once you hit the tail once, do not press anything on your controller. The Drake will get up and then walk around for a second before resetting. Then fire another bow shot once it's still again. This will take a long time and use about 50 arrows. You'll probably want to bring over 100 just to be safe. You can technically kill the Hellkite Drake with arrows if you want, but it's actually more valuable to keep it here as a farming location. The second way is more complicated, but easy enough to execute. You'll want to bait the Hellkite Drake onto the bridge by shooting with an arrow, then running at its tail and hitting it with your weapon. You need to deal a lot of damage, and the easiest way to do this is to use the gold pine resin. Once you sever the tail, you'll get the Drakesword, but you'll also want to rush through the other side of the bridge and keep running to the right side to avoid the inevitable dragon flames. This will cause the Drake to move from the bridge, but you can bring it back by going to the other side of it and attempting to run back down. Rest at this bonfire and use the lever to unlock the shortcut. Then kill all the hollows and collect the treasures from the bridge, including the claymore, which is the weapon I will be using for the rest of the game. The Drakesword is a great weapon at this stage in the game. It has a whopping 200 attack power, but doesn't scale and can't be buffed. This should definitely be your go-to for this early section of the game, as it's extremely strong versus your other comparables. It will start to fade once we start upgrading our other weapons, and get more access to buffing items like charcoal pine resin and magic weapon. Oh yeah, if you do an R2 while two-handing it, you shoot out a sweet wind slash like your Jubei from Ninja Scroll. Anime as heck. You really have three options at this point. One is to go ahead and fight the Gargoyles, the boss of the Undead Parish. The other is to grab the basement key and head down to the lower Undeadburg. Finally, you can do some miscellaneous exploration around the surrounding areas, most notably killing Havel the Rock for one of the best rings in the game and another Black Knight. I'm going to suggest you just grab the basement key for now, and then go after Havel since we have the Drakesword. If you manage to get past the Drake and are sitting pretty at this bonfire, then you can actually do this the easy way. First things first, open the gate if you haven't already, and from here ascend the stairs to fight a Black Knight. You can kill it with parries and backstabs, or you can bait it to fall onto the stairs and abuse plunging attacks. This fight isn't easy, but will have the potential to yield a powerful weapon. Feel free to skip this and return later if you're struggling. It's not a big deal. Otherwise, from the bonfire, head straight and take out the Hollow Knight in front of you. Once that's done, head right into the alcove and up the stairs. From here, you want to sprint ahead, avoiding all the enemies, and jump off the ledge. If you're fast, you'll beat the Hollow Knight to closing the gate and end up behind him. Take him out and any others that manage to get through the gate. Then pick up the basement key from the corpse here. If you haven't unlocked the Firelink to Undead Parish shortcut yet, you can run through the parish, avoiding the Balder Knights to activate the shortcut back to Firelink. Head back to Firelink Shrine and rest at the bonfire. To get to Havel the Rock from here, you'll need to retread some ground. Head back the way you first went to Taurus Demon, stopping at the bonfire on the way. Fight your way back through these lesser hollows, which you should make short work of with your Drakesword. Once you get back to the tower where the boss fog was, instead of going up the stairs, move straight through and use the master key to unlock the door. Progress down this winding staircase for a long time. Once you reach the bottom, you have a face-off with Havel the Rock Johnson. Havel is extremely exploitable, but he will likely one-shot you. You'll want to strip yourself of any extraneous armor since it won't help you anyways, and you'll want the mobility. Keep your shield and the Drakesword equipped. Simply keep your shield up, lock on, and circle strafe to your right. Once he attacks, you'll want to get behind him and unleash a backstab. You will have to repeat this several times, but it is fairly safe. This is by far the easiest way to kill Havel. Killing Havel will net you a good chunk of souls, and more importantly, Havel's ring. This greatly increases your equip burden, which will be critical in being able to wear a full set of armor and still be able to fast roll. Getting this ring is strongly recommended and will be used for the vast majority of the game. You can now open the door Havel was blocking to gain access to the Darkroot Basin. There isn't much here for you at the moment, as we've already been through it, but it is an alternative route from the parish. Now head back up this tower and back to where you fought the Taurus Demon. Keep going to eventually reach the Hellkite Drake Bridge, and instead of going down it, head through and open the door directly in front of you using the basement key. Descend this ladder and take a right at the bottom. Climb this staircase and open the door. This provides a valuable shortcut from the Undeadburg bonfire to the lower Undeadburg. Don't miss this, or you'll have to go all the way around again. Feel free to take a rest at the Undeadburg bonfire to reset your Estus before foraying into the lower Undeadburg. If you haven't yet, purchase the residence key from the male Undead merchant before we go down here. We will need it shortly. Head back through the shortcut and head down to find some burning garbage. Take the stairs down and you'll be aggroed by dogs. You should be able to one-shot them with an R1 of the Drakesword. Your goal is just to block the initial attack and then take a swing at them. The dogs and hollow thieves down here can inflict bleed. You want to avoid bleed buildup as much as possible, as it tears a large chunk of your HP off once the bar is filled. Approach the enemies down here with caution and take this part slowly. Now you want to make a U-turn past the well and find a door where someone will ask for help. Open this door to free Griggs, the basic sorcery teacher. You'll have to use the residence key to open this door. The master key just won't cut it this time. Inside, talk to Griggs, then roll to smash the barrels in the back, which will reward you with a sorcerer's set and a catalyst for casting spells. Leave Griggs here. He'll make his own way back to Firelink Shrine. Head back out and progress forward very cautiously. This area is notorious for ambushes. Head past the cart and the first door. Be prepared to U-turn and double back to the cart. Once you're back at the cart, turn around and you'll have successfully avoided the pincer attack. These hollow thieves can parry riposte, so you need to be cautious about attacking into them when they're blocking. You will need at least 2 hits with the Drakesword to kill them. Standard strategies apply here. Isolate, block initial hit, and counterattack. Once you're finished with those 3, you can look inside the open doors to find some fairly useless equipment like a mail breaker before progressing onwards. Head down into the lower hallway and be aware of another ambush. Try and dispatch the dog first before taking out the 3 hollow thieves. If you line them up, you can use the Drakesword's two-handed R2 to use the Wind Scar and cut them all down.
You're dead.
This does use a lot of durability and should be used with discretion, but it is an easy way to take them out. Move forward and take out one more dog before pillaging the rooms to the left and right side. In the right room, there's the black leather set. This is actually a very good armor set due to its low weight. It's a great way to get some extra defenses if you're close to your weight cap. You'll also get the target shield, which is a shield specifically designed to give you a larger parry window at the expense of terrible block percentages. Keep it in your back pocket, there may be some uses for it at a few points. Back onto the main path, you'll see a fog wall. Under no circumstances are you to enter this fog wall yet. There's a shortcut just up ahead, and if you enter this fog wall unprepared, you're already dead.
お前はもう死んでいる。何？もうあたくびできれぶ。
Instead, take this staircase down. You'll see one hollow thief, but there's actually a second one to your left. The further one will throw knives at you. Take these out and move forward. Grab the soul at the end before trying the door only to find that it needs a key. Head up the stairs, taking out the hollow archer ahead, and continue upwards. Now exit onto the aqueduct. Does it look familiar? To your right, there's the female undead merchant who sells some useful items like charcoal pine resin. Buy things if you want, but we're close to a bonfire. Now run down the aqueduct to unlock the door to get a shortcut from Firelink Shrine to the lower Undeadburg near the boss fog. Now return to Firelink Shrine and rest at the bonfire. You can talk to Griggs and he will teach you sorcery if you have at least 10 intelligence. I will be providing a supplementary guide about sorcery builds in a separate video since there's a good amount of prep you need to do. If you'd like to supplement your build, purchase Magic Weapon, as it will act as a reasonable baseline buff if you have no gold or charcoal pine resin. Soul Arrow might also be a useful tool. Otherwise, rest at the bonfire and use the shortcut to head back up to the Undead Parish. From the shortcut, head left and up the stairs. Take on the Balder Knight. These enemies can also parry and riposte you, but they have a very obvious stance when they are trying to do so. They're fairly simple otherwise. Kicks will work, as will your standard block and counter. The next hallway is complicated to get through. The Channeler with the large trident makes things difficult, as does the sheer amount of hollows that you'll have to face. These wretches will chase after you like they're a bunch of rabid Rick and Morty fans, and you've got the one Mulan McNugget sauce. Using the Wind Scar, the two-handed R2 of the Drakesword will make this way easier to deal with. 2 hits should kill the Channeler, and 1 hit should be able to kill multiple hollows. Just line them up and knock them down. The Channeler here is one of the few enemies in Dark Souls that does not respawn when killed. If you're in a dicey situation, try and take out the Channeler, as it will make any subsequent trips up here much easier to deal with if you do die. I was lucky and got a Channeler's Trident here, but it's not an assured drop. It's actually not the best weapon either, so don't worry if you don't get it. Now take out any straggling hollows. and head to the opposite side of the upper level of the parish to take out a Balder Knight. Continue down this hallway and loot a humanity before heading back and breaking down the busted door. Head up the stairs and talk to Lautrec of Karim, who's imprisoned. Unlock him using the master key, talk to him, and he'll return to Firelink Shrine, which you should also do so now. Lautrec is part of an optional questline. It involves your precious Firekeeper at Firelink Shrine. Lautrec is a filthy murderer and will eventually kill her and flee to Anor Londo with her soul. Without the Firekeeper present, Firelink Shrine's bonfire will not work and you cannot rest there. However, you can stop this from happening by taking him out now. You will miss out on some collectibles and story by doing this. The main things are the Dingy set, which the Firekeeper is wearing, and Lautrec's Armor of Favor. Neither of these sets are incredible, and can safely be skipped to no detriment. You'll also never lose access to the Firelink Shrine bonfire. You will lose the ability to summon Lautrec for the Gargoyles and Gaping Dragon boss fight, but that's not really an issue. If you kill Lautrec, you'll gain access to an incredibly powerful ring for your efforts. The Ring of Favor and Protection, or more commonly referred to as the FAP ring, gives you an increase to your maximum health, stamina, and equipment burden. It's an excellent ring. The only downside is if you ever take it off, it's destroyed. This ring is so good that you will likely leave it on for the majority of the game, which renders that stipulation obsolete. I'm going to suggest you murder Lautrec here and now to spare yourself some trouble later. Head down to the Firekeeper and dragon kick his ass into the Milky Way. 2 kicks should be enough to send him over the edge. Now wait for his souls to fly to you and quit out by going into your menu and selecting Quit Game. Reload your game and you'll find the FAP ring and humanity where Lautrec was sitting. Equip this ring to complement your Havel's ring and adjust your armor to accommodate your new increased weight thresholds. If you want, you can hold off killing Lautrec until after the Gargoyles. Solaren and Lautrec can almost kill them for you, but it is reliant on pretty terrible AI to do so. Besides, you really should learn to beat these bosses on your own since you can't summon partners for every encounter. Rest at the bonfire again, and head up to the Undead Parish. Since Lautrec is dead, we can now safely collect a 3rd Firekeeper soul to upgrade the Estus Flask. If you've collected the Blighttown soul and the Undead Parish soul, Lautrec will kill the Firekeeper, regardless if you freed him or not. So now that he's dead, it's safe to collect it. From the shortcut, simply head forward and left. You can take out this large Baronique Knight if you want. It will yield a Titanite shard for your trouble. Apply the same strategy that you did for Havel. Just circle around his shield, and once he attacks, hit him in the back. You won't be able to backstab him, but you will be able to kill him fairly easily using this method. Once he's gone, pick up the Firekeeper soul from the corpse on the altar. Now return to Firelink Shrine and talk to the Firekeeper to +1 your Estus. You should be at +3 at this point if you've been following the guide. Now it's time for final preparations for the Gargoyles boss fight and the Capra Demon, which we will do immediately after. With Havel's ring and the Ring of Favor of Protection, you potentially can equip some heavier armor depending on your endurance. If you want a decent armor set that has a reasonable defense to poise and weight ratio, you can grab the Knight and Elite Knight sets. The Elite Knight set is actually a lot easier to get at this point, so we can get that first. Head to the Undead Parish bonfire. From there, run past Andre the Blacksmith and run past the Titanite Demon by deking it out to either your right or left. Now exit the parish into Darkroot Garden. Just run straight through this area, running past all the demonic foliage. Eventually, you'll hit a collapsed wall with a door that glows. Strike the wall with your weapon on the left to reveal a bonfire. Feel free to rest at this to reset your spawn position if you die during the next part. Now pass this door and head straight down this path. Ignore the side rooms, enter the fog wall. From here, it's just a straight shot to the Elite Knight set. It's guarded by a lot of stone knights and demonic foliage, so be prepared to keep going after you pick it up. Once you have the Elite Knight set, that's really all there is to do for right now, so go back to the Undead Parish however you can. The Elite Knight set and the Standard Knight set are remarkably similar. So similar that it's probably not even worth getting the basic Knight set. These are pretty average right now in terms of defense, weight, and poise, but when upgraded, they do feature excellent defenses at a relatively low weight when compared to the heavier armor sets. It's worth using and upgrading through the course of the game. Despite your increased equip burden from your rings, you won't be able to wear the full set while still being able to fast roll until you're in the mid-30s of endurance. Just slowly incorporate heavier pieces into your armor set and fill in the blanks with things like black leather to maintain fast rolling. You can head back to the Undead Parish to repair and upgrade your equipment at Andre the Blacksmith now. For the upcoming bosses, the Drakesword will be a strong option, but if you still have gold pine resin, you can upgrade a weapon of your choice to +5 by buying Titanite shards from Andre. This will require a lot of grinding. Titanite shards are 800 souls apiece, and you need 9 Titanite shards to get a weapon or armor to +5. That's 7,200 souls just for materials per piece of gear, and you still need to pay Andre for his services. A good option for farming this is the Hellkite Drake bridge location. If you're feeling up to it, or are really struggling with the Gargoyles, You can upgrade your weapon, armor, and shield to +5 by using Titanite shards purchasable from Andre. Right now, armor upgrades should be considered lower priority, as you will likely be wanting to wear heavier armor with poise, and it's not really worth upgrading your basic set. A +5 weapon with gold or charcoal pine resin will outperform the Drakesword, but the Drakesword will be a strong choice if you choose not to farm this. Unfortunately, upgrading your shield doesn't increase the block percentages, instead it mostly just increases your stability. This means you'll suffer less stamina drain when blocking attacks. Upgrading your shield will be an excellent use of resources, as it will benefit you throughout the rest of the game. Now once you're prepared, it's time to take on the Gargoyles. Rest at Firelink Shrine for the Firekeeper's additional +5 Estus without needing to kindle. You can use a humanity to turn to human form if you'd like to summon Solaire and or Lautrec, provided you haven't killed him yet. Then head up to the shortcut, take out the Balder Knight, and then the standard hollows before ascending the ladders to reach the boss fog. Your ideal scenario for the Gargoyles is the following. Your Estus at +3, a +5 upgraded weapon of your choosing with gold pine resin or charcoal pine resin in a pinch. You can buy this from the female undead merchant in the aqueduct, or the Drakesword. Wearing the heaviest armor you can while being able to fast roll at +5, +0 will be acceptable. It will be worth using lighter armor or removing some armor to be able to fast roll here. The Dragon Crest shield at +0, or 1 or 2 if you found a lot of Twinkling Titanite, or the Spider shield at +0 to +5, or the Grass Crest shield if you like using the stamina regeneration and don't mind taking chip damage. Performance-wise, these will be similar. The Dragon Crest shield has 82% fire versus 72% fire on the Spider shield, but slightly less stability. If you can upgrade the Spider shield but not the Dragon Crest shield, the Spider shield will be the superior choice. Now you can enter the fog and buff your weapon up with gold or charcoal pine resin. There's nothing here until you move about midway down the rooftop. Since you're on a roof, you need to be wary of the sides. You can and potentially will plummet to your death. Try and stay within the center of the roof as much as possible to avoid falling off or being knocked off. Most guides will tell you to dodge certain attacks, but for this first phase, the best bet is just to block. All the attacks are blockable, including the fire breath, which is fairly rare from this gargoyle. Depending on your shield, you will take varying degrees of chip damage from the fire, but it's usually better to block than to just eat the attack. Your main goals here are to lock on and circle the gargoyle. Remember to drop your shield when you don't need to block, as it increases your stamina recovery speed. Block any of its incoming attacks and try to get behind it to counter. You can cut the gargoyle's tail off, which will make it slightly less deadly, and it will give you a brief opportunity to get some damage in. Blocking and strafing will be sufficient here. Just continue working him down slowly, taking safe hits when you can. After a set amount of time, or around 50% HP, a second gargoyle will spawn. Obviously, this complicates things quite a bit. This second gargoyle starts at 50% health, and thankfully, mostly only spams the fire breath attack, which is fairly easy to avoid. The fire breath isn't the most damaging attack, but it does a really good job of area denial. When we're on a fairly precarious roof, this is a problem. The easiest way to dodge the fire breath is actually to move forward towards the gargoyle. Since it's a cone area of effect, it's actually harder to dodge the further you are from the gargoyle. While the gargoyle is breathing fire and you're beside or behind them, you have opportunities to take free hits. Obviously, a 2-on-1 isn't the best odds for you. Your goal now is to focus on killing one of the gargoyles as fast as possible. This is a bit of a damage race, but make sure you're methodical. Take your hits carefully, and don't be afraid to sprint across the length of the roof to create space to heal. It's one of the easiest ways to get some breathing room and reposition the gargoyles. Once one of the gargoyles is dead, you're in good shape for victory. Keep your shield up and wait for opportunities to take some damage off. Weapons will have varying effectiveness here. The Drakesword will be a reasonable option, but a +5 weapon of your choosing with gold pine resin will be much more effective. You'll be able to kill one gargoyle and about 5 one-handed R2s with a +5 claymore for perspective. This is part of why the Drakesword is a bit of a new player trap. It starts off amazing, but really starts to taper off around this point in the game. If you got the Gravelord Greatsword, you will be able to make very short work of them. If you're struggling with the gargoyles, you could consider completing that run through the catacombs to get it. With 10 Estus and +3 to your flask, you should have very ample healing and have a much more forgiving window if you heal and it's not totally safe. Again, if you're really struggling, you have the option to grind and upgrade your current armor loadout to +5 by buying Titanite shards from Andre the Blacksmith. Any upgrades that you do here will benefit you in the long run, so it will be worth spending the time. These upgrades will let you survive through less than stellar conditions and will give you a tangible advantage. Finally, Solaire and Lautrec together are actually capable of killing the boss for you. At Firelink, use a humanity item and restore yourself to human form. Fight your way to the top of the Parish and summon Lautrec and Solaire. Summoning help does increase the boss's maximum health as it compensates for the additional player's damage output. If one of your NPCs dies early on in the fight, you can quit out to put you back at the boss fog and resummon them. This is actually a very easy and safe way to complete the Gargoyles if you're struggling. You can get free hits on the Gargoyles if they are focusing on one of your AI partners. If they're focused on you, just concentrate on guarding. Even just summoning Solaire will be beneficial here, as you can provide some much needed breathing room for you. After the Gargoyles are defeated, cross the roof into the bell tower. Ascend the ladder and ring the first bell of awakening. Now head down and talk to the new NPC, Oswald of Karim. He acts as a merchant. Otherwise, head back to Firelink Shrine. We've already been through Lower Undeadburg, but it's time to tackle the boss so we can move on to the depths. From Firelink Shrine, rest at the bonfire. Now head up the route to the Undeadburg. Once you get into the aqueduct, head straight through the shortcut you opened earlier. If you want to, you can pick up some additional charcoal pine resin from the female undead merchant. At the bottom of this tower, head right and take out the 2 hollow thieves before heading up the stairs. Be very careful here. Slowly ascend the stairs and take out the 2 dogs above you. This part is actually pretty dangerous. Now, prepare to enter one of the most annoying boss battles in the game. Capra Demon itself is a joke of an encounter. It's basically a beefed up version of the Baronique Knight you fought at the Undead Parish. It just has 2 machetes instead of a shield. You'll have little issues taking it on with a reasonable build and good stamina management. You will want to use some armor with poise, as being able to hyper armor through a hit or 2 will go a long way. That is when the Capra Demon is alone. Unfortunately, the fight doesn't start that way. There are 2 dogs in here with the Capra Demon that will ruin your play session again and again and again. Capra Demon is a fight where most of the time you will win or lose within 15 seconds of entering the boss fog, and that's not a lie. The main strategy here is to use a weapon that is capable of one-shotting the dogs and preferably has a large sweeping attack. You'll want to buff your weapon before entering the boss fog, preferably with a gold pine resin or with magic weapon from Griggs or a charcoal pine resin from the female undead merchant. Once buffed, you'll want to enter the fog and clench. Run towards the Capra Demon and dodge his initial jumping attack. Now you should have one or both of the dogs run at you. You'll want to swing wildly to clear them out, and hopefully you kill them both. If not, you're very likely to be stun locked and killed here. Once the dogs are cleared out, you have various options against the Capra Demon. Go ahead and lock on. Single-handed swings can be easily guarded with a shield with minimum stamina loss. Two-handed swings and jumping attacks can still be guarded, but are much more likely to break your guard. These are safe to dodge, and the timing isn't overly unforgiving. Just make sure to adjust for the tracking, which comes at the end. All you have to do now is manage your stamina, block his attack, and take light hits when it's safe to do so. At this point, you should have a very easy fight that is a bit long, but should be fairly safe. If you ever need to heal, back up and try to bait a jumping attack or a two-handed attack, as these have the most recovery frames for you to heal. Then just back up enough to dodge the attack and take a sip of your Estus. The hardest part of this fight is by far the first 15 seconds. Once that's done, you're mostly in the clear. If you're really struggling with that initial 15 seconds though, there's an alternative for you. You've tried the Capra Demon a few times, and you're mad as heck because he's one of the worst designed encounters in the game. A joke of a boss made extremely unforgiving by having two dogs rush at you at the start of the fight, and being forced to fight it in a very claustrophobic room. We've all been there, don't worry. Here's the free win strategy. This does require a bit of setup. You'll need a bow and at least 13 fire bombs or 8 black fire bombs. It's recommended to bring extra just in case you miss. You can buy fire bombs from the male undead merchant in Undeadburg. If you don't have any souls on you, you can use the Hellkite Drake bridge trick to quickly gain enough to purchase the required fire bombs. Once you're done buying those, head back to the fog gate. From the boss fog, you want to clear the hollow thieves and dogs around the area so that they don't bother you. While you're facing the boss fog, snuggle into this corner of the wall, pull out your bow, and aim for this section of the ramparts. Now simply throw 4 fire bombs. Once that's done, reset your position, aim for the ramparts a second time, now throw 4 more fire bombs. Repeat this once more, but this time throw 5 fire bombs and you should have killed the Capra Demon. Don't worry, it's not like the achievement police are going to come after you. This will just be our little secret. You'll be rewarded with souls, and most importantly, the key to the depths, unlocking a new area for us to explore. Head back to Firelink Shrine to spend your souls before we head down to the depths in the next video.